Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and tonight's story comes out of the Far East where there's been an ethical dispute between Google and China. Google is potentially about to enter the Chinese market despite their online restrictions and regulations. Today, we are welcoming two special guests to our show, the CEO of Google himself, Sundar Pichai, and the representative of China, Xi Jinping. Mr. Xi Jinping, how come you've been struggling to come up with an agreement with Google?
First of all, I would like to thank you to be part of this radio segment today. Compared to the rest of the world, China has a highly sophisticated government censorship, which makes it difficult to cooperate with an internet search service that allows the freedom of expression.
Wow, Mr. Xi Jinping, you sound a little bit German over there. You've been taking some German courses?
Well, yeah, I used to do back in high school.
Very interesting. Well, anyways, Mr. Pichai, what do you think about China's internet restrictions and how it relates to your company?
Well, we decided to implement our service into China due to its huge and growing market of internet users. We saw it as an opportunity to grow our service, but we now have some regrets due to a discord between our values and their restrictions.
Hold up, it seems like we have an ethical dilemma here. Google's mission statement is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Some of their values include refusing to make any change that does not offer benefit to the users of the site. In Google's opinion, democracy on the web is important, and they want to facilitate access to information for the entire world. But on the opposing side, China has had these regulations as a part of culture for many centuries, so for them to change these ideals may be extremely difficult.
We at Google did in fact recognize the ethical dilemma and threatened to end our services in China in 2010.
Wait a second. This could be a nightmare when it comes to problem solving. With polar opposite ideals and norms, conflicts could arise in even day-to-day operations. Google could also contradict themselves by cooperating with China by going against their value statement, which clearly states filtering information out is not what they stand by.
So now that we've gone over the pros and cons, Google, I'll have to ask you, what are your plans for the future?
Well, that's a good question. We would eventually like to come to an agreement with China that we believe is representative to our values. But as of now, we will end our services in China. We do hope to have a future in China, but this is currently not an option.
China, how are you going to respond to that?
We hope that when Google tries to enter our market the next time, they take our culture into consideration as well. We understand their point of view, but believe that in the future our values and norms should be considered way more heavily.
Very interesting. Well, unfortunately, guys, that's all the time we have for today. We'd like to thank Mr. Xi Jinping and Mr. Sundar Pichai for coming on to the show. And for another episode of Blair News, this has been your host, Kevin Sullivan. Have a good night, everyone.